ISIS is now claiming responsibility for the attack at a restaurant in Bangladesh that left 20 people dead. As Kitty Logan earlier reported to us, it appears that ISIS militants deliberately targeted foreigners, noting that foreign hostages were executed first. ISIS has targeted individuals in Bangladesh in isolated attacks before, but this attack marks a serious escalation and is raising red flags for authorities in Bangladesh and all around the globe. Let's talk about it with Mark Dubowitz, Executive Director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thanks for being here, Mark.
Hi, Molly.
Hi. I want to start with the escalation here, that we've seen these attacks, organized attacks, Brussels, Paris, now Bangladesh, Istanbul. Where can we expect to see them next? I mean, is the answer here, unfortunately, everywhere?
Molly, unfortunately, the answer is everywhere and anywhere. ISIS has penetrated our defenses. They're all over the world. Wherever there are Muslim communities that are supportive and are susceptible to their radical Islamist ideology, you can expect these kinds of attacks. So, unfortunately, the best defense is an aggressive offense, and we need to be going after these ISIS terrorists in their heartland.
And when they go after their targets, they're hitting places where foreigners gather. They're targeting the worldwide community, not just the actual country where the attack might be planned and take place. So what can foreign governments do? What's their responsibility, not just to their own citizens, but in these cases, so often citizens from all around the globe?
Well, Molly, what we learned after 9/11 from President Bush and actually from Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon is that the best defense is an aggressive offense, and that we have to actually go where they mobilize, where they plan, where they recruit. And for that decade after 9/11, we were able to actually diminish the terrorist threat because we were fighting them in their heartland. And it's very difficult for these terrorists to mobilize and plan when they're trying to stay alive. Unfortunately, in recent 5-7 years, we've been on defense, and no matter what we do on defense, they're going to penetrate those defenses and strike us.
What about our government here in America working with other governments overseas? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Is there something more we can be doing as a world community?
I think what we're doing right is we're increasing the security cooperation with numerous governments. But what we're doing wrong is, number one, not recognizing that this terrorist threat is an ideological threat. It is a radical Islamist threat. And you can't defeat an ideology through tactics. You have to defeat it through ideas. We also have to, as I said, acknowledge you can't play defense. You've got to go on offense. And unfortunately, President Obama has been loath to actually send American troops into some of these areas. And if we're not fighting there, we have to be fighting here. And fighting here means that hundreds, if not thousands, of civilians are going to pay the price.
Yeah, so many people have expressed frustration about that inability to call a spade a spade. Moving a little closer to home, many of the attacks here in America have been sort of lone wolf attacks, or, for instance, the Tsarnaev brothers. What happened in San Bernardino, a husband and wife team, but not these larger organized attacks such as what we saw in Bangladesh. So what can be done to stop that? It's the ideology that is also spreading around the world.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, this is the thing. These are ideologically motivated attacks. These so-called lone wolf terrorists are inspired by ISIS's ideology and inspired by radical Islam. And we have to acknowledge that it is an ideological war that we're fighting. We have to call it what it is. The president has been loath to do that. And we have to defeat these ideas with better ideas by reaching out to moderate Muslims and moderate Muslim communities here and abroad and getting them involved in the fight.
It's an incredibly difficult situation unfolding all over the world. So many challenges ahead. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for chatting with us about it.
Thanks, Molly.